Good morning. I think it's raining outside. Welcome to the regular session of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, also sitting as all special taxing districts, July 22nd, 2026, 9 a.m. Board members will attend either in person, by telephone, or remotely via electronic conferencing. We're all here. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Supervisor Lyons, can you please lead us? We'll move on to call to the public. Call to the public is held for public benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.01H, action taken as the result of public comments will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and decision at a future date. Public comments may be made in person or submitted by email at publiccomments@yumacountyaz.gov. The email forms of public comments will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read out loud during the County Board of Supervisors meeting that starts at 9 a.m. Desiree, do we have any? We don't, okay. And Lynn, you want to introduce our guests?
Let me turn, there it is. In the back of the room are some young ladies who are scouting, and they're scouts, and they are here observing our meeting, our government meeting as part of their badges. Lily and Abby Smith, would you please stand up and be recognized? They're Davy Smith, who's one of our computer guys' daughters, and they're identical twins. And with them are their mother and dad. So would mom and dad stand up? There we go. Thank you for coming, and girls, thank you for being in scouting, and good luck with those badges. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do have a couple of speaker forms. Rosalie Stafford, come up to the podium. Your name and address.
Thank you. My name is Rosalie Stafford. I live in Tacna. Thank you for the time. I've already ascertained that the information that I sent went into people's junk folders, so I just want to make sure that everyone knows. I have been working with, kind of impromptu, with Jesus Carrillo regarding the noise thing. When I read the proposal, I saw that it omitted the C-weighted scale. C-weighting has to do with hertz, the boom, 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 which is not measured by the A-weighted scale, which has to do only with decibels. So obviously the hertz, the boom, boom, is an important part of noise, partly because it is a known public health hazard. In my paper that I emailed and provided to Jesus, I give them the medical literature regarding how it affects heartbeat. So if a person has a kind of tricky ticker, then it can mess with it. And Am I out of time?
No, go. You're fine. Go ahead. Continue.
Okay. Thank you so much for your attention to it. We don't want to go to all the work of making a new noise ordinance and find that we have omitted the boom, boom part, which is not measured on the decibel reader. You need another add-on reader to account for that. All right. That's all I got to say.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. You have a lovely day.
You too.
She forgot to mention that she was a researcher with the university. You passed.
Yeah.
How do you know about hers? She did?
Yeah, she did.
Oh, well, you should pay more attention.
Thank you.
I'm a retired professor of research writing, so I love doing projects like this.
Thank you. Raúl Castillo.
Good morning, Chair and members of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors. My name is Raul Castillo, address 933 East 26th Street, Yuma, Arizona 53665. I'm here to represent Smile Services, Maximizing Independent Living and Empowerment. We are one of the 5 centers for independent living in Arizona. We serve Yuma and La Paz counties, nationwide network over 403 across the nation. I'm here to advocate for people. I'm learning how to advocate for people with disabilities who continue to face serious barriers to accessible housing and meaningful employment throughout Yuma County. I am looking for opportunities to, so to say, make some noise, see where we could make change. I was told that the law has to change for housing, for the bottom units, for all the bottom units to be ADA accessible. Our community needs more affordable, accessible housing with features such as wheelchair accessible entrances, wider doorways, and usable bathrooms. We also need stronger partnership with local employers to create inclusive job opportunities, provide reasonable accommodations, and ensure that qualified people with disabilities are given a fair chance to work. I respectfully ask the board to make accessible housing and disability inclusive employment priorities in future planning, funding, and economic development decisions. Please include people with disabilities and local service organizations in these discussions because decisions should not be made without the voices of those directly affected. People with disabilities deserve the opportunity to live independently, earn a living, participate fully in our community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Raúl. Anybody else from the public that wishes to address the board? Seeing none, I'll move on to presentations, proclamations, and appointments. During this segment of the agenda, board members may discuss the presentations and proclamations and may announce appointments to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission and the Yuma County Board of Adjustments. No legal action will be taken. Do we have any appointments? None? Okay. We'll move on to presentations, and we'll move on to item number 1, presentation by Arizona Public Service regarding summer preparations.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chairman, Vice Chairman, Supervisors, and local residents. I'm Michelle Burkeen. I am the Southwest Division Manager for APS. I'm here today to educate and inform on questions our local customers have had regarding summer readiness. So we can go, is this my clicker? Yes, awesome. I wanted to start to mentioning APS is celebrating 140 years this April. I'm just happy to be part of all the communities. One of the questions we get is APS ready and have enough capacity to meet the summer demand? We forecast our peak the year before, and every day during summer, we plan on having a reserve margin of 16% for the next day. This helps us plan if customers shift their usage, if they shift to using more or they shift to using more during our peak time, 5 to 8 p.m., we counter by having that 16%. We've been seeing this summer an increase of around 500 megawatts So people are moving to using electricity during those times. So 4:59 p.m., we see a number. 5 p.m., we start seeing that number plus 500 megawatts because of increase in usage there. Yes, a lot of our research has been that people get home from work, right? Or they start cooking, electrical stoves, and yeah, so. Doing laundry, yes, yes. So,
Yeah.
yes, all that stuff. Another question we get is, how can I be informed about outages? Currently, we are communicating with 87% of our customers. We have our outage map that is in our website that you can log in and see it. We have 24/7 customer service if you call the APS number. And we also have APS text messages that a lot of people are not taking advantage that we would like to recommend. APS.com/alert. The cool thing about the text messages is that using a short code, you can ask questions. So there's short codes for outages. Is an outage in my area? And you type that short code about usage and demand. You can use that short code, and it's attached to your home usage. Another question we get is does APS have any support to pay my bill? I put here the QR code. If you scan the QR code, it takes you to our website with all the programs we offer. I wanted to note a couple of them. We have the crisis bill assistance, that if a customer's temporary financial hardships, they may qualify to up to $1,000 in a bill. We actually just paired up with Chicanos por la Causa a couple weeks ago in the food bank, and they were able to help about 100 people with that. So it was really nice to see it come into action. We have other programs like Energy Support Program that customers can qualify up to 25 to 16% discount on their monthly energy bill. And if they're already SNAP participants, the process is way easier because all the information is already there. We have our APS Care that customers, no need of income checking, can receive up to $500 in a bill for help. And we are actually partnering up with our Salvation Army, so anything they raise this year, APS will equal it dollar per dollar for the end of the year. A couple other programs that I don't think people are familiar with is our medical program. Customers with life-threatening illnesses or using medical equipment in their home can qualify to 35 to 60% discount on their monthly energy bill. Also, we have AC repair or replacement programs here in Yuma County with Authrives 365. Helps us out. We partner with them, and they can help you if you need to have a replacement or a repair on your AC. We have eviction support that we partner up with St. Vincent de Paul in our areas, and also we have our payment arrangement if the customers need a little bit more time to pay the energy bill, we're able to work with them and put some kind of schedule. Now to the question about what do I do if I see a pole down, a conductor down. First thing to do is assume always that it's energized and step away. If it's possible, please step away and assume it's energized, and then call 911. And then after that, you can call APS. If not, 911 will call us anyways. I added a video here that we won't watch, but it helps you see what happens if a line falls in my car. And you guys know what to do if a conductor falls in your car? That's the first thing, stay in it. But if you have to leave, you have to make sure you don't touch both the car and the ground at the same time. Our body is a conductor, and we're the least resistant, so if we touch the car and the car's energized, it'll go through our body. So what you have to do if you have to leave the car is touch the car, stand up in the little lip of the car, and then letting go anything, you jump into the ground without touching the car, and then you shuffle. Like, when you get in the ocean with stingrays, you have to shuffle your feet. That's the same thing you do. You shuffle about 100 feet until you're away from the car. So something silly, but remember, stingrays, something happens.
The Transformer Shuffle?
It's Transformer Shuffle. I like that one. So, yeah, we'll do that. Well, next time we have our slogan. Which is really important. Stay away, stay in the car, or shuffle, right? Our next, another question we get is, how do I know it's APS calling me? Unfortunately, scams have been reported in our area, and some residents have actually sent them money here locally. Please note that APS doesn't turn power off during June 1st to October 15th. So if they're calling and telling you we're turning power off, it's not APS. We would never call to ask for a payment. We sometimes call and ask if there's any support we can do. Other times that I have personally called is a couple months ago, if you remember the outage downtown that affected all our commercial. I individually called them all to let them know how long we were expecting the time outage, but I identified myself, I told them my number, and I told them they can call our call center to make sure it was me. But it's really rare that an individual person will be calling. So just want to remind the public, if they're asking for gift cards, asking for prepaid debit cards, please don't. Or even if you really think it's an APS employee, hang up and call our APS call center and verify. It's sad to see people taking advantage of others. Lastly, a topic that's not affecting us, but I wanted to mention is our public safety power shutoff. That is a tool in our toolkit to help protect from wildfire during severe fire conditions. It's not affecting Yuma County or even the Southwest, but I want to make sure we educate, and there's some people that have homes up in the north. PSPS for short is based on several factors that are impact the potential fire or how fast a fire might grow in the area. It depends on the combustible material, the terrain, and the weather, including high winds. And I want to point out that it doesn't mean that there's a fire outside those houses. It means that it can be a fire on the line that's serving your home. So just want a couple points there. If you guys have any questions.
Any questions for Michelle?
Yeah.
He is our director of the
he's-
South, so he's in Casa Grande.
He's where?
Casa Grande.
Casa Grande. I couldn't find him one time that I was looking for him. So I'm asking, where is he? So he's in Casa Grande.
Yes.
And he's now the chairman of the
He's the
division.
director of the whole South Division, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, he left 2 years ago.
I know.
The one.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Oh, that's dark.
Moving on to presentation number 2, the mix with Yuma County El Condado Informado by Yuma 77.
Welcome to the mix. As temperatures climb and more people head to the river, the Yuma County Sheriff's Office is stepping up enforcement in local waterways through a joint operation with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies. The increased patrols are aimed to keeping boaters safe by targeting reckless operation, speeding, and boating under the influence. Deputies will also check vessels for required safety equipment and compliance with boating laws.
So we encourage everybody to have a safe and responsible time out here on the water. First thing I'm going to say is if you're going out, don't drink and operate your boat. Always have a sober driver. Second, make sure you have all the proper safety equipment, PFDs that fit everybody on board, a fire extinguisher, a Coast Guard approved throwable, and then just keep an eye on the water levels and make sure that you don't hit a sandbar. Be mindful of the current out on the river.
Following basic safety precautions can help ensure a safe and enjoyable boating season for everyone. Monsoon season is underway in Yuma County, and emergency officials are reminding residents and visitors to stay alert before heading outdoors. Whether you're boating, off-roading, or enjoying other outdoor activities, weather conditions can change quickly. Yuma County Emergency Management recommends checking the forecast, carrying extra drinking water, letting someone know your plans, and having a way to receive weather alerts. Staying weather aware can help keep your summer adventures safe. The Yuma County Health District is helping families get ready for the new school year with its 2026 Back to School Immunization Clinic. The clinic runs July 20th through the 23rd and July 27th through the 30th at the Yuma County Health District.
It's important to get their vaccinations, especially with rates going down, immunization rates going down. We're losing that immunity, the community immunity that we have. So the more children being vaccinated, the more protection for our whole community.
Hours are 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Thursday. Children under 18 must be accompanied by a parent or legal guardian. A child's immunization record is required. For more information, call 928-317-4559. Before we go, Yuma County's primary election is now complete. Unofficial election results are available online. Residents who would like to view the results can visit yumacountyaz.gov and click the election results banner at the top of the homepage for the latest information from the Yuma County Recorder's Office. Thanks for tuning in. Residents can catch the latest episode of The Mix by visiting yumacountyaz.gov and navigating to the VOD section. You can also head over to Yuma County's official YouTube channel. The English episodes are available under the Mix playlist, while Spanish-speaking viewers can find the Spanish version under El Condado Informado. Both platforms offer access to current and past episodes. ¿Prefiere ver The Mix en español? No se lo pierda. La versión en español del programa está disponible bajo la lista de reproducción El Condado Informado en el canal oficial de YouTube del Condado de Yuma. Gracias por acompañarnos. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. That was The Mix. And before we move on, I wanted to thank all the departments in for Yuma County. The National Association of Counties presented us with the Best in Category Award to Yuma County, Arizona, County Administration and Management, Customer Service, the core of our mission. We're presented with an award because of our customer service. But you know, this is great, and congratulations to every employee for Yuma County. But I think we need to continue doing it, make it even better. So maybe we can still every year get an award like this. So again, thank you to our Yuma County staff. Ian. Supervisor Reyes and I were presented with the award at the NACO conference this past week. All right, moving on to consent calendar. The following items listed on the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. And we have items 1 through 8, I believe. Yes, and I would like to pull out number 8. Any other?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve items
You want to jump?
1 through 8 with the,
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I was just informed that number 6, we need to pull to approve as amended. There's
Mr.
a
Chairman, I'll make a
handout.
motion that we approve items 1 through 8 with the exception of 6 and 8.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve consent calendar 1 through 8 with exception 6 and 8. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 6. So we have Kelly, you want to, or?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Kelly Fricke, Public Works Director. Item number 6 was amended. The price was reduced from $124,460 to $108. I'm sorry. Let me get that form out. $108,697.42.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept the amended price of $108,697 and how many cents?
42 cents.
42 cents.
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to accept item number 6, consent agenda item number 6, that's with the amended motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thanks for saving us money.
Yes. Good
And,
chunk.
And I pulled out number 8. Just, I know we have Imelda Arellano here just to kind of talk about a little bit about the name change.
Yes, good morning, Mr.
Morning.
Chairman and members of the board. I'm Imelda Arellano Nunez. I'm the director of Yuma County Juvenile Justice Center. And within our detention center, we have a school. And the current name is Yuma County Juvenile Detention School. We work very closely with the districts, especially Yuma Union High School District. When we withdraw students from our school, they go back to their home school. And within the transcript, it states, or it reflects the name of our current school. To further support our students' education for either employment or colleges and protect them from any biases, we requested under Resolution 0819, I believe it is, Ian, that an ad hoc committee be formed in which we voted to rename the school to Cactus Wren High School. Within the committee, we had the representative from Yuma Union High School, Mr. McGahey, myself, and the deputy director from detention who oversees the school as well. The backstory behind the selection of the name that we agreed on is about 4 years ago, we had students. We came up with this idea for the reasons that I already mentioned, and we thought it'd be best to survey the students, and a couple of them came up with that name. And I learned then that Cactus Wren is the Arizona state bird. I didn't know that. I was an educator prior to being in juvenile justice for a short period of time, and I learned it from our students. So I was very proud of that. I thought it was going to be in the consent agenda, so I didn't bring the paperwork, but our presiding judge couldn't be present, but she wanted me to show the board, a picture of the board with the bird with a little history behind it, but that is what it is. It is the Arizona state bird. And we asked that our school be renamed to Cactus Wren High School. Yes. Yes.
Been off. There it is. When I taught second grade, it was part of my social studies program, and we taught what a cactus wren was, what a state bird was, and all about its habitat, and it doesn't mind the thorns.
Sings beautifully.
It is, and it doesn't mind
I
the
read.
thorns. So yeah.
Yes.
On a saguaro. So anyway.
So it is a small bird, and it also represents the students because I read in the history behind it that it's very strong. It's a small bird, so it has to fight against certain things, and same with our students. You know, they are in the detention facility. We take very good care of them, but they're still away from their community at that point.
Any other comments?
No, I like it.
Well, thank you.
Very
Imelda.
accurate,
Thank you.
very good. I agree with the name as well.
Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve item 8 as presented
I'll
with the name
second.
change.
There's a motion and a second to approve consent item number 8. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Imelda.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and recess the Yuma County Board of Supervisors and convene as the Yuma County Housing Board. I'll call on Alicia Ibarra.
Yeah.
You can sit right there.
Sit over there.
We're gonna put it right here. Got a little name tag. Yeah, right over here.
Housing Governing Board Consent Calendar, the following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the item as listed, the consent item.
There's a motion. Is it?
Would you like to second my motion, which will take care of the item and that's it? No, it's not a vote. No, you have to second.
Okay, she seconded, yeah.
She doesn't understand what she needs to do, so she's got to explain.
I approve.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to adopt and authorize the chairman to sign resolution number 2026-35. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Did you vote?
Thank you.
Alicia.
I'll go ahead and
Thank you, Alicia.
It's a consent item.
adjourn the Yuma County Housing Board and reconvene to the Yuma County Board of Supervisors in regular session. Moving on to discussion and action items. The board will open each of the following items separately in discussion and action as appropriate. Item number 1, action to establish and appoint members to the Juvenile Detention Review Committee. Ian?
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. This item would establish a Juvenile Detention Review Committee and appoint its members. The need for a broader review became apparent as staff evaluated the cost of providing medical coverage at the juvenile detention facility. That discussion highlighted the significant county resources dedicated to juvenile detention and raised appropriate questions about the long-term efficiency and financial sustainability of the current operating model. The facility has 46 detention positions and an annual operating budget of approximately $4.9 million, with most of that amount related to personnel. At the same time, recent daily population averages have been relatively low. The proposed committee would examine operating costs, staffing, facilities, funding, organizational structure, service delivery, and other factors affecting juvenile detention. Its purpose would be to identify opportunities to improve efficiency, strengthen physical sustainability, and ensure the effective use of public resources while maintaining public safety and compliance with applicable law. The committee would serve solely in an advisory capacity, would make recommendations only on matters within the board's budgeting, funding, and administrative authority. The action also expressly recognizes and preserves the constitutional and statutory authority of the Superior Court and presiding judge. The committee would include representatives of the Board of Supervisors, Juvenile Court, County Administration, Court Administration, and the Adult Detention Center. It would be required to submit its findings to the board and recommendations to the board by July 22nd, 2027, which is, of course, a year from today. The review is intended to bring the appropriate parties together to carefully evaluate the available information and provide the board with well-supported recommendations regarding the future sustainability and effectiveness of juvenile detention services. So the board is asked to create the committee and appoint the members as outlined. Thank you.
Ian, do you have a list of members, possible members?
Yes, sir, I'll read them right now. It's a 5-member committee made up of a member of the Board of Supervisors who shall serve as the chair, the Yuma County Juvenile Court Director or the director's designee, the Yuma County Administrator or the administrator's designee, the court administrator or the administrator's designee, and the Yuma County Adult Detention Center captain or the captain's designee.
So you don't have a list of actual names because you don't know who the designee may be, but you've already gone through the membership.
Right.
So the Board of Supervisors appoints one member of the board, and then the rest will get appointed by the different entities, chiefs.
Exactly, Supervisor Reyes, yes.
And this is, you know, we obviously, we wanna, you know, the long-term sustainability of this service that we have. We have to provide, you know, and like you said, Ian, it's to strengthen and basically, if there's savings that we can have there, we need to start looking at them and able to be to be sustainable for the long term. I mean, I would like to see Mr. Simmons if he wants to be on the board.
You want to be a member of the juvenile board?
I don't have a problem with it.
Only in government will we create a committee to review something we have.
He's ahead already.
I know,
Yeah,
he's already agreed to. But only in government would we say that to make it things sufficient, we have to create a new committee. But it's okay, I can understand that. But it's getting complicated, all these committees. So Mr. Simmons wants to be appointed to it, is that what?
I'm fine
I
with
agree.
Right, so I make a motion that we appoint Mr. Simmons as a representative.
Well, I think we have to just appoint the whole committee or
A representative will be Mr. Simmons then. We appoint the committee and the representative will be Mr. Simmons. So we make a motion to form a committee and the representative will be Mr. Simmons.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so there's a motion to establish and appoint members to the Juvenile Detention Review Committee, including a member of the Board of Supervisors who shall serve as the chair, which is Mr. Simmons. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
No pressure.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. I'm going to move on to item number 3 of the discussion and action items. Development Services and Planning and Zoning Division. Discussion and action regarding a proposed amendment to the Yuma County 2030 Comprehensive Plan to address aggregate sources.
So we're gonna skip number 2, is that it?
No, I'm gonna skip it because I'm gonna move it at the end.
Okay, so we're skipping number 2, we're going to number 3.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting this discussion item that concerns a possible text amendment to the Yuma County 2030 Comprehensive Plan to address aggregate sources. The intent of this text amendment is to address aggregate sources in the land use element. As currently, we don't have anything for aggregate sources in the land use element. We also intend to add a new map depicting locations of active aggregate mines and areas suitable for aggregate resources. And this list of sites are provided by Arizona Geological Survey, and it was updated by Yuma County Public Works Department. Also add a definition in the plan's glossary and incorporate the respective GIS layer into the Yuma County system. ARS 11804B1E requires including currently identified sources of aggregate in the land use element of the comprehensive plan for counties with population of more than 125,000 people. And the land use element shall include the list provided on this slide. I'd like to mention that currently the 2030 comprehensive plan has priorities already for all planning areas. They're bolded in the middle of the paragraph. And they read as follow: encourage appropriate buffers to mitigate conflicting land uses, including between aggregate mining and residential land use, and pursuant to state law, preserve currently identified aggregate sufficient for future development. And the proposed text amendment is consistent with the existing policies by providing additional mapping, resource identification, and planning guidance intended to improve compatibility between aggregate extraction activities and surrounding land uses while supporting the long-term availability of aggregate sources necessary for future development and infrastructure needs within Yuma County. Staff is recommending the following changes to the plan. Text that is strike-through is intended to be deleted, and text in bold font is proposed new text. At the bottom, you will see we add in aggregate sources, followed by this. You don't want me to read everything, or I can read? Nope. And we're also on the top part of the slide, you will see we're providing now buffers. And then the next, the glossary, aggregate sources definition is going to be following adequate public facilities. This is the land use map proposed, showing the locations of the sites. If no changes are suggested by the board, staff recommends forwarding this item to the Planning Commission to initiate a text amendment to the 2030 comprehensive plan. Mr. Chairman, and this concludes staff's presentation.
Mr. Chairman, I know we have several mining companies here in Yuma with open pits and aggregates. What were your discussions with them, or did you have discussions with them as far as future use or planned use, ongoing use?
No, staff did not reach out to them. We just used the list provided by the Arizona Geological Survey, but did not reach out to current. But there, staff knows that there are some that are not that didn't appear on that list, and the intent was to reach out to them to see if they want to be placed and locate their sites on the GIS and also on the maps.
Well,
But
before we pass this, can we take that action, reaching out to them just to confirm? I'd hate to see us cause any undue burden by passing something without having had opportunity to meet with the local aggregate.
Okay, yeah, of
mining.
course. We can reach out to all the ones listed and see, probably try to get their contact information and, yeah, reach out to them.
Make sure that we've got it included and we've taken care of it at one time.
Yeah, there are some that were not on the list, but they're identified easily.
Right.
Yeah, so, of course.
Okay.
Would you like to, we will need to take it back to the planning zone, or just bring it back to you with the updated contact, or go back?
I would just say bring it back to us with the updated contact, just to confirm that the local contractors or local mining operations have been incorporated into this study and proposal.
Of course.
What, Mr. Chairman, too, what about ag as far as that buffer with ag? Because I know dust and those particulates are very concerning for food safety.
I don't see why we
can-
don't send this back to the Planning and Zoning Commission so they can review it and take some comments on it. And then come back to us once you pass it on through the process. That's the process where we take some amendments. We send them to the Planning and Zoning Commission, which gives them an opportunity, which puts them in the paper, gives them an opportunity to comment. Then when you guys get through that process, then you bring it back to us for a decision.
That is correct, yeah.
That's the
We
way
can
you
go that-
normally do it.
Okay, we can do that
So if
usual
we
route.
skip that process, we won't allow the public to comment. We will allow, you will then notice the aggregate people, but you will not notice the public.
Okay.
You don't have to. You just contact the aggregate people, which are the impacted people. But you don't give people an opportunity to comment.
Okay.
The way we do it normally, which is we send it back to the Planning and Zoning Commission,
Correct.
which then sets up a meeting.
It's a
which
text,
then
therefore
comes-
text amendment.
Yep.
To initiate the text
Yep.
amendment.
They initiate the text amendment.
Okay.
Well, that is staff recommendation.
Okay, but that's what I mean.
Yeah, but we're asking for more information if they talked.
Okay. The way I
So-
heard it.
So that, they're gonna do that, and then send it to bring it back to us, make sure that they did, and then send it back to the.
I don't
planning
understand
zone.
that. That's okay.
Yeah.
Because they didn't talk to certain.
They didn't talk to any of the local mining operations
operations.
or aggregates.
This text amendment was supposed to allow that, allow the contacting of those people. But it's supposed to be at the Planning and Zoning Commission level. Then it comes back to us for decision. Now, if you wanted to come back to us once they've been contacted and then go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission, I don't understand. I don't see why we need to do it this way, but I can deal with it. It's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Just that I think we're just making sure that we send it back to them. Anyway.
I just feel like they've been skipped or not included in this planning that we're being asked to approve, and so
We're not gonna approve it then.
we're not going to improve it.
We're just gonna hear the comments and send it back to Planning and Zoning
We
Commission.
want them to bring it back to us, saying that they've talked to the aggregate mining
gotcha.
companies.
Okay.
And incorporated them into this planning and discussion. The only reason I say that is because I am aware of several of our aggregate people reaching out to their state representative in the aggregate industry, and also some of our congressmen, because they've been concerned about some of the plans. So I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Okay.
Okay.
A couple of the congressmen have made me aware that they
think
have
they're
been contacted on behalf of the aggregate companies.
Okay.
The biggest complaint they have is birds, and it's because they're so near the airport that a bird flight is a danger to planes landing. And that's the only complaint I've ever heard about aggregate sources, which is they're next to the highway, which are next to the runway or close to the runway, close enough so they can present a problem. So I don't have a problem with them commenting and us sending them back to the planning and zoning. I just thought that you wanted us to decide whether to send it back to the planning and zoning or not, which is, to me, the way we do these amendments. But if you want to get the comments of the gravel people before we send it back to planning and zoning, that's fine with me.
Mr. Chairman, based on where we are in the process, this just gives the Planning and Zoning Commission authorization to initiate that text amendment. So it would be proper to send it back for them to initiate that process, which would include reaching out to the mining operations.
That's what I thought, but.
Mr. Simmons,
Mr. Simmons?
You finished? What?
Yes, I finished.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just to address Mr. Supervisor Simmons' question about agriculture, the first buffer, we have a 0 to 500 foot buffer with a berm to protect both agricultural and industrial uses from a mining site.
Okay. Well, I just know too, from what I've seen over on in the foothills with that operation, that dust will get going and it travels quite some distance at times if the wind's blowing right, because I get numerous calls and complaints from people about the sand or the dust that settles into the neighboring areas.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other
comments?
So we'll send it, let me, hold on, let me, we'll send it back to the Planning and Zoning Commission to initiate a text amendment. And will this open up so you can contact the mines that were not?
And let's make sure that the aggregate companies that are operating are actually operating within those areas, right? Being out east, and it's in Darren's area, I observed a few aggregate mining areas that I didn't think were active, but they are out up against the Dome Valley area specifically. I just want to make sure that everybody's included, everybody's on the same page.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it wasn't our pit. Yeah. Anyway, let's just make sure. That's all. We will.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion. That we send it back. They can initiate the text amendment. We're going to seek additional information from the current operators of mining and aggregate, and then
It'll come back.
And then it'll come back to us. Correct?
As a text
Everybody happy with
amendment.
that? Does that incorporate everything?
Yep.
I'm
All
okay
right.
with that. I'll second that motion.
Okay,
Second it, yeah.
there's a motion and a second to send it, return item to the Planning Commission to initiate a text amendment to the 2030 Comprehensive Plan and to make sure that they talk to the mining companies.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, on that note, I was just a little bit surprised that some of the local aggregate companies were reaching out to their congressmen for some of the challenges that they've had in this area, and I didn't know where the overlap is. So I just want to make sure, for that reason, that they are aware of our efforts on their behalf to make sure that it's incorporated into our general plan.
Well, to me, this was going to sort of define what aggregate bases were and where they were located and how close they had to, they couldn't be to share substations, to schools, to any facility, any residential facility. I thought this was a defining, this was a clarification, this was an addition to our already existing word verbiage, but it didn't deal with space and time. So I'll second the motion. It's fine. Send it back to planning and zoning.
We have a second with Lynn,
Didn't we just voted on that?
and we voted on it.
Yeah,
Only-
we voted.
I was just
We-
at-
we- we-
It was just me adding some clarification, Tony.
Yeah.
Well, you got some clarification, which,
No, thank you.
Clear as mud.
You're confusing everybody, Tony.
well, you started off with clarification. What was it start with the
All right,
clarification?
moving on to item number 4.
Javier goes running through the.
Public health, presentation by Chief Health Officer Diana Gomez. Good morning.
Chairman Reyes, members of the board, Diana Gomez, Chief Health
Chairman
Officer.
Porches.
Chairman Porches.
Tony's acting like a chair.
You confused
You know,
me.
he's still,
Bad habit, but it's a habit that
Chairman
I can't break.
it's been
Porches.
3 years.
My apologies. Chairman Porches, members of the board, this is what happens when I, go at the end of the meeting.
Yes, put your tail in.
Okay, my apologies. Let's see if I remember who I am again. Diana Gomez, Chief Health Officer. Wanted to provide an overview of the opioid settlement funds, better known as One Arizona. As you know, this was an agreement that was reached with the pharmaceutical companies, the settlement money, and it was divided accordingly between the different states. This presentation is meant to provide an overview again, and it's for public awareness because I realize many people don't realize how the terms of these agreements came down or how the settlement amounts were set upon.
Determined. Mhm.
So, okay, I know this worked. Okay. Okay, so how the funds were distributed in Arizona. The state kept 44% of the funds, with the remaining 55 or 56% being distributed to local governments. So again, the state kept the 44, with the rest of it coming to the local governments. So the funds are distributed over 18 years. So different pharmaceutical companies or pharmacies that entered into this agreement can make payments over the course of those 18 years. Some of those companies chose to make one lump sum. Some of those companies chose to make payments, sporadic payments throughout those 18 years. It is not a continuous amount, it's a finite amount. So once the agreement, the amount they agreed to is fulfilled, those payments stopped. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions. People think that this is gonna be an ongoing amount, and it's not. Everybody entered into an agreement, everybody settled on an amount, and once that amount is fulfilled, then that's the end of those funds. So how was our local share determined? Well, it was determined, as you can see, by the opioids that were shipped to the region, the amount of opioid deaths in the region, and the number of people in each local municipality that suffered from an opioid disorder. The county in this case, and under the leadership of Bill Kirkus, was responsible for securing the participation of other towns and cities within the county. So a big thank you to Bill Kirkus. And by signing the agreement, the county received 60% of the available share. So that percentage that trickled down to the local municipalities, the county gets 60%, with the remainder going down to the different cities and municipalities. The terms of the agreement state that the health district will be the lead agency responsible for distributing those funds, and the health district has already been working with a lot of our partners. We have those plans in place, and I'll discuss those a little further along in the report. So, reporting requirements. Transparency, efficiency, and accountability are incredibly important all the time, but especially when it comes to these funds. There's an annual report that's due every July 30th and a regional report that's due September 30th. Any entity receiving any of these funds must be transparent, report what activities they're doing, and again, these activities have to be approved as part of the settlement agreement, strategies that were agreed upon. So again, a lot of transparency. There's a dashboard that you can follow the metrics, but again, it's meant to allow the public to see where these funds are going and how they're being spent. So a closer look at our community.
Diana, let me stop you right there, because we just came back from New Orleans, where they told us the OMB, Office of Management and Budget, rules were going to apply to any funds that we get from the state or the federal government. I was told to ask the attorney and to ask the city manager how we're gonna handle that, because it will happen within a year, according to the latest that we got from the administration, the court administration. That's going to impact every grant that we get, every money that we get from the federal government. So I was asked to ask the county attorney or the representative, and ask the administrator or his representative what we're gonna do about that within a year, because that's gonna change a lot. This what you're reading, it's going to change, because the report is not gonna go to the, I don't know, the state, I guess. It's gonna go to the federal government, and it's gotta follow OMB rules. OMB rules are pretty set, pretty specific, but it makes it so difficult to report that we may incur in a mistake, and if incurring a mistake, they're able to take off the funds. I don't care if it's set aside. So be careful with that. Be careful and check it out. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yuma County, fortunately, every death is tragic, but fortunately we have one of the lowest, the second lowest opioid fatality rate in Arizona. And I'm happy to report that we haven't had any death. The education at the schools is working. We haven't had any opioid overdose death in anyone under the age of 18 in the last 3 years. The primary data that we collect is part of our surveys. We have fatality review teams. And as part of our ongoing community health assessment, we see that the following themes are related to substance use disorder. Youth have access to substances across the border. Mental health is always intertwined. It's important to have those prevention and harm reduction activities, not just in the schools, but across the spectrum. And then again, access to care. Treatment, particularly for behavioral health, has made strides in our community. We're seeing some innovative programs and partnerships happening here locally, which is great for our community. But there's still a lot of need for treatment, particularly for youth. Right now, there's a lot of a lack of availability, and their families have to travel out of town for services. And again, when you're dealing with a behavioral health issue, you want to be close to your family to have that support network. This is a dashboard, again, publicly available for people, and it shows for this year, 2026, the number on top is the verified non-fatal opioid overdoses in the state. If you look a little further, you can see our section for Yuma County is 25. Again, this is verified non-fatal, and verified in the sense that there was some sort of intervention. So it was either at a hospital or a paramedic or first responder responded. This cannot account for if somebody administered naloxone at home. That would not be verified. So again, these are recorded. So far, year-to-date 2026, you can see the number of the opioid deaths across the state. And again, in our county, you can see we've had 9. Again, we haven't had any deaths under 18. You can see the percentages break out, and you can see that the area that we need to work on and address is that age group between ages 25 and 44. And again, that's people out in the community outside of the school system. They don't have access to those interventions. That's where those community resources and those treatment options really come into play to address that age group. So some of the approved strategies within the agreement, these are things that we can use the funds for. Again, is to treat opioid use disorder and support people in treatment. There's a big emphasis on that. These have to be evidence-based programs and strategies. There's also an approved use to address the needs of people in the criminal justice system and to support, again, people with prenatal care and promote care, I guess, for prenatal care and treatment of neo-abstinence syndrome. Approved strategies for prevention include curbing overprescribing, which has been happening. Those strategies have been successfully happening in our state for a while. This is to enhance those. Campaigns that discourage misuse of opioids. So again, those are those public awareness campaigns that you see. And then again, campaigns or strategies used to reduce or stop overdose deaths. So one of the things that we do here, and we've done successfully for quite a while here, is to partner with community agencies and make naloxone available. Again, naloxone is a medication that can be used to reverse the effects of an opioid overdose as quickly as 1 to 3 minutes after administration. If you are not under the influence of opioids and you are administered this medication, there is no negative effects, so it's safe to be used. This is why bystanders feel comfortable administering it. The agencies that you see there, Campesinos Sin Fronteras, Community Bridges, we have the walk-in clinic, the Yuma County Anti-Drug Coalition, are all providers. We make sure that they have this available, and anybody can stop and get one free of charge. Will you just, in case you haven't seen it, each box has 2 doses, and that's because you're supposed to administer the first dose. Hopefully that reverses it. In case it does not, you administer the second dose. Hopefully somebody's calling the paramedics. It buys you that time to get the person the help that they need. And again, this is distributed free of charge and readily available.
Mr. Chairman, Diana, you gave us all a box last year or the year before. Do you think we could get some more?
Yes, sir. We will go ahead and make them available. We also approved uses include additional strategies supporting first responders with appropriate training. And then there's always leadership planning and coordination to address those needs. You always want to get ahead. This is where that coordination happens with our different law enforcement and healthcare provider agencies to make sure we see what's happening on the ground. So, as the lead agency, one of the things that we've been using in guiding our efforts is the Yuma County Community Health Assessment. And then we convene with the different stakeholders. We have representation, again, from social service agencies. We have representation from law enforcement, from our clinical medical partners. And we come up with our community improvement plan. It's a very collaborative process. What we're proposing to do with these funds is follow a very transparent process that allows for accessibility to the public as well as our agencies. So in accordance with our strategic priorities of effective governance and transparency, we're proposing using these funds and setting up an RFP process. This would allow other entities that are interested in providing a solution or being part of the broader response framework the opportunity to provide for funding. It would make it competitive. There would be that accountability. They would be evaluated. So again, that makes we are responsible for those funds. We're the stewards of those funds. This process makes it fair and makes it transparent. So again, only strategies approved under the settlement agreement would be considered for these funding opportunities. We are at an incredible advantage in the fact that we have within Yuma County government the departments that have broad reach around the county and are already working with people experiencing opioid use disorder or working to prevent opioid use disorder. So again, the health department, the sheriff's office, the attorneys, the school superintendents, adult probation, legal, juvenile, and of course our great communications department who always does these great PSAs for us. By working together internally with what I'm proposing is this advisory committee group. We're already working with them. My request only is that, we move forward and formalize it a little bit so that they have a say in the process, an equal say in the process. They see different aspects of the spectrum where opioid use disorder, comes into play. And so we are able to improve efficiency, work together, consolidate everything, and save that money so that we can use it for RFPs or other things moving forward. The benefit of the strategy, again, like I said, we have the access to the data as well as they do. We have existing opioid surveillance systems. This encourages community engagement because each of the agencies I've already named have their own network of people that they work with. It pools the resources within the county. They're limited and they're finite. We're going to run out of them. This allows us to maximize and stretch those dollars further. It reduces administrative cost. It allows for that prioritization of evidence-based strategies within each area that we identify. And again, our communications department is great, and I feel bad because they're not here and I'm volunteering them. But I can't say enough great things about them. And so again, by having that internally and sharing it with our partners, we can co-brand, sharing that resource and saving on that expense. So how the request for proposals would work is this strategy would benefit the outside organizations outside of Yuma County that would be interested in working in advancing some of the priorities that we identify. Again, community-based agencies in treatment and behavioral health, as you saw, were priorities, school-based. Again, these individuals out in the communities, these agencies are already working to address some of these issues. They have that frontline perspective. And so this is a way to, again, consolidate those services, make them efficient, and find the people that already have those expertise and help them do what they're already doing. So the guidance that I'm seeking from you today, again, was, the awareness of what those funds are. We've been distributing naloxone. We haven't used any of these funds yet, and that's because we've had grant funding from other sources, and we've used those grant funds first. So the activities that you've seen, all those programs have been grant funding sources, and we've been really pleased that we've been able to maximize that prior to starting the use of these particular funds. But again, there's questions in the community, there's interest in using these funds, so it's important to come here, do a quick overview, and again, seek your guidance if it's acceptable to, again, move forward with this strategy so that we can go back to go back and start forming what that RFP process would look like, work with these community agencies in our internal county network to identify those priorities in our strategic plan, come back to you as the board and present those priorities so that you can approve those priorities, and we could formally move forward with that competitive process and start sharing this money with our community and our internal county departments as well.
Questions? Question, how much is it? You never mentioned the amount. You mentioned that we got an agreement, you mentioned the money that came, and you mentioned it was 6, but you never mentioned how much it was.
Right, well, I can give you that total right now.
So what's the total?
So that is distributed between the different municipalities. So right now, we're looking at a combined, that's another very important thing that you brought up. Thank you for asking. When they came down, when the funding came down, we had the option of everybody who was receiving funds, so meaning the county, the city of Somerton, city of Yuma, and San Luis, pooling them together or opting to take their own distribution. So each municipality has opted to take their own distribution. And what that breaks down to is a combined total with everybody combined to just $3,450,000. That breaks down, if you look at it by percentages, the county would have about $2 million of that, with the city of Yuma coming close behind at a little over like $1 million. The smaller municipalities have a much smaller percentage. And that's just what it broke down. Just because every municipality has been getting their payments doesn't mean that in the future we can't come together and say, we want a larger initiative, we'd like to pool our funding for this particular initiative. So they have all been receiving their payments. The county, since day one, our finance department has been distributing those payments to the different municipalities. And so they've been receiving their payments, and I believe that the city of San Luis and Somerton have been using it for law enforcement, to support some of their law enforcement efforts. But again, they all have to do a report at the end of the year, and if we did the RFP and if we start using the funds ourselves, we will have to do that as well. And again, that's for the public to know where these funds are going.
Okay, thank you for the update. I was going to say that glaringly that San Luis and Somerton weren't, in Welton weren't included in the report, but I didn't know they got their funds directly. So that's why they're not included in the report. You're including just the county agencies, not the Somerton Police Department or the San Luis Police Department, because they get their own funding through their system.
And this was just an overview to show you how the funds were distributed. And because we're the lead agency, the county got the biggest share because the county is the administrator, the health department and our finance department are the administrators of those funds. And then we distribute that to the different, cities and towns within our county that opted to participate in that program.
Okay, now, there's our questions.
Yes.
When I saw the chart that you provided for us about the deaths, and you saw 9, on top of that was a 6 and a little minus or like a little B sign. What does that mean? Does that mean that the deaths that they had, the 6 deaths that they had, they couldn't prove that they were related?
Oh, the
to Oakland?
asterisks?
Asterisks.
We don't have, so normally
That's
that
not a-
means it was either suppressed because we didn't have in the numbers to, so it's not identified in a small city. In this case, it meant that there was no deaths under the age of 18. And we have not had any overdose deaths here in our county from 2023 up to now. So that's why there's no value to that
Okay,
age range.
That's on the Potts County. The one I'm looking at is just 6, and it's not an asterisk, but it's actually a minus sign or this way. So
Oh,
it's not
okay.
identified, you couldn't identify?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, my apologies. Okay, so if it's a very small jurisdiction, like in La Paz that you're pointing at, sometimes they don't, it's less than 6 and you don't say the exact number because it's such a small community. You might know if it's 3 people, it's to protect confidentiality. So when it's a really small number, we just say less than. That way you don't know it's, this person or that person
So
when
let
it's a
me get
small.
this straight.
He used to skip math class.
So there's a
sorry?
6 in Navajo County and a 6 next to it. So minus 6 means it was minus less than 6, right? And 6 means it was 6. And you guys can prove it was more than 6 or 6 and more.
Yeah,
So that's what it means. It means that in a smaller county, it may be less than 6. 6 is the bottom line. Is that what it means?
Yeah, so as you can see, 6 seems to be the threshold if you see that one county. So less than 6 could be 5, it could be 1. And again, it's to protect the identity and the confidentiality, especially in those small communities where everybody knows that. We just don't, do
Well,
the exact number.
it's a number, right? It's a number. It's not an age.
It's a
right?
tragic death, but we just don't we want to protect
Okay.
the confidentiality
So the
of the
minus 6
family.
means that they're less than 6, and you can't
Yes.
prove who they are. So they basically, you said, well, it's less than 6, period.
Yes.
So figure it out yourself.
And if you see it the opposite way, it means
And
greater than
6 is
6.
greater than 6. Yeah, minus 6. I get that minus 6 now. So it's less than 6. And it's obviously smaller counties, and it's obviously less than 6. So I just wanted to know what that means. Less than 6 means less than 6.
It's just a confidentiality measure to protect people.
Okay.
Diana, with when we go to the RFP, whoever gets it, or like they're gonna be managing it, or but are they also gonna be advertising? Because I saw you have all those non-organizations that, but a lot of them, they only see certain people, the ones that they work with.
Right.
They don't provide services to the whole community. Yeah.
That's the beauty of the RFP process and why I want to have that group where there would be a criteria and an evaluation system. And so we would set out the parameters. We get to develop the RFP. We say this is the approved strategy. For example, let's say we want treatment. And we say we want treatment provided and we want to ensure that it covers East County or that it covers, an age range. And so we put that RFP to that criteria and then we review those proposals to ensure accessibility and access so that it's not just an entity who just wants to work within their network or their group. And it's public. So if somebody applies and doesn't get it, and we can do the scoring and you can see, well, you weren't able to serve. We wanted to make sure that you served, this population or this age range or this particular strategy. So that's to promote transparency, Chairman Porches, and I assure you that, we will come to you with that for your approval before we even set out before any money goes out. The RFP will be clear and for your review, and then we will move forward with that. I just want to make sure that's the direction, that is an appropriate direction to move forward with. We felt that was a fair
Diana,
list,
is there any other option to consider?
as opposed to like direct.
You asked us if that's the direction we should go.
Right.
I just wondered if there was any other options that we need to consider.
That was the recommendation. The other option, I guess, could be direct funding. That makes it a little more difficult. You could have an ask. Traditionally, we go with the RFP just for accountability.
Right.
But I didn't, to be honest, I apologize, I didn't consider another alternative, but I can come back.
As you mentioned, these organizations are very directed with their outreach. And I kind of share the chairman's concern about a broad-based approach. So I just want to make sure that we approach this correctly. We don't get a chance to do it again, right?
Right, and I think that's an important, that's why, you know, I chose to work internally first with the county entities that work with all these, they're seeing people through their intake process from, you know, from all aspects of life. And again, there's room, the beauty and the flexibility of this is that as long as it's within that approved strategy, there's room for a faith-based, you know, organization. There's room, as long as they meet the criteria for, you know, within the RFP.
I was wondering, for example, about organizations like Amberley's Place or Safe House. They don't directly work with them, but should have access to some of these funds. And I'm sure that there are others, but I wanted to utilize those two primary examples of different considerations.
Yeah, and those are excellent examples of community agencies that would be able to provide not only access but education. And so again, the goal of this is to make sure that we cover those gaps and that we have, you know, again, these agencies and our community like a criminal justice system and a juvenile justice system, our school superintendent, they're working with all these schools. They see that, and then we already work with a lot of these other entities through our other health outreach. So again, the value of having this is that we get to announce it. It can be shared readily through all those networks. So it promotes accessibility. It allows somebody that normally might not enter this arena, but they have the ability to make a positive impact because they have a ability to provide a specific service to be able to apply for that funding.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, is there anything out in East County?
Well, so East County, that's the one that we didn't see. We don't have anything set up other than the schools, correct? I'm sorry, this is Ryan Butcher, Deputy Chief Health Officer. And so the schools have something in set, but there's no public serving entity like these that has something. But again, if they reach out to us, we are still distributing. We have ample amount, again, through our resources that we haven't expended yet, and we're always happy to set up a new location.
Mr. Chairman, like our community health groups, we've got a couple that are here in the community aside from the hospital. Would we not partner with them as well, especially out east, just because they do have a presence and where others might not?
Yes, and these are entities that we're provided as well. Early on in the process, we help set up, so there's like the law enforcement, we've already given naloxone to a lot of these law enforcement entities, and they're procuring it themselves. There was a grant available where they were able to access it. So maybe what we need to do is pinpoint a map of where they're readily available. Everybody else, do we have something like that yet? We'll do that. So you can see those access points and we can share them. Because this is just the big entities in town that we're providing large, but it expands beyond that. So to answer your question, it's available in other places. They're just not on our map. But we can have. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate the map. Sorry, Darren. 1 second. Just to make sure that we have a little bit of overlap throughout our community. Mm-hmm. I'd be remiss if we didn't.
So we can follow up with an update and see who's getting them, because to date, we've distributed, let me see how many. We've done presentations. We recently just trained all our law enforcement officers. And so this year so far, we've distributed 1,100 boxes. So midway through the year, each having 2 doses. But it's been an average of about 3,000 doses that we've distributed for years since 2023. So every year from us, we're issuing out 3,000 doses through our partners. And then you have law enforcement and schools who have the ability to get that directly right now for free. So they have their own system. So there's definitely more access points. What I'm hearing today is that it's important that it be promoted more broadly so that people know where to go in other entities where you might not have a network like the hospital or whatever that has a presence. So duly noted, and that's going to be the first thing we do when we go back, is make sure we start working on that so we can pinpoint those access points.
Additionally, what is the shelf life of this product? And are we keeping something in reserve to be able to restock for a long-term plan?
Yeah, good morning, Chairman Porteous, members of the board, Ryan Butcher, Deputy Chief Health Officer. Yeah, so the shelf life of any type of naloxone is approximately 2 years. It does need to be stored at room temp. And we work closely with the state health department, who's funded through Access, that provides the naloxone to the state and distributes down to the local level. So that's something that, you know, we are very mindful of as far as the funding and if that's going to be constant. We've had discussions also about, you know, if we need to use the opioid settlement funds for naloxone, that is an approved strategy that we could do as well. And just to kind of elaborate on these are the distribution points. So these are the locations in Yuma County where members of the public can walk in and request a free box. But it doesn't show the over 30 community partners that we have. We have several in Welton that use it just for first aid response. So, for example, the school districts out there as well as across Yuma County have these with their AED machines. Security has them, so if there is an incident on campus, they can respond. So there's several entities across Yuma County that aren't displayed here that are part of the program in the school district. So that's just kind of wanted to pinpoint that.
Diana, I think your map is a great idea, but then making sure that leaders within the community, even down to teachers within classrooms, are aware of accessibility and making sure that they can get it in that period of time. And then I'd like us to see or plan out kind of a long-term approach, utilizing some of these funds because maybe grant funding would not be available. So what can we do to cover, for example, the next 4 to 6 years while we procure other grant funds?
Yeah, and that's a very good point. And again, I think one of the things that you brought up is the difference between, it's sometimes when you're in the middle of it, we know who has it,
right.
But this is a resource for the public. So it doesn't do us any good if we know where it's at and the general public doesn't have those access points. And sustainability is important. Right now what we have is temperature controlled and we're planning for that. And again, we rotate our stock as first comes in, first goes out to make sure that it's always fresh. Lessons we learned during COVID PPE distribution carry out to this. We're fortunate that we can keep it, and that's part of it. But we'll follow up with that, and then we'll do a canvas to make sure where exactly, particularly in East County. South County is pretty well covered, Somerton and San Luis, but to cover those gaps and make sure that everybody knows where to access them.
Yeah. And go ahead. Driving it down to accessibility within regions. My best friend from junior high and all throughout high school sadly died of an overdose about 6 years ago down off Somerton Avenue. His mother came home and found him frothing at the mouth. And so making sure that regionally or within neighborhoods we have a secure supply so that people are able to access it. They don't have to wait 10 or 15 minutes for first responders to show up if they've got it regionally. Not sure how we can do that. I know that's a heavy lift.
We can do that. We can do community events. We could also have different access points. It's doable. We'll make sure it happens. We'll propose something. I think with the stock that we have in mind right now on hand and what we have, we can certainly do that. Again, having that level of awareness of where those pockets are would be helpful, but that is doable, and that's certainly something that is important. We always say we could have the best resource in the world, but if you don't know it's there and it's not available, then it's not a resource.
Right.
So no, this feedback is very valuable, and we'll certainly go back and work on it and come back with a more fine out plan, at least to promote to expand what we're already doing in reference to distribution.
I think we got to take advantage, not to pick on our communications department, but we need to advertise it. We need to promote it, and if we're not using, all these agencies, you go there after 5, they're closed.
Right.
Yeah. They're not open on the weekend. So we got to make people aware where's it at. It's good that we have it, but if they don't know where it's at, then I don't think we're doing our job if we're not advertising or letting our community know. We got to take advantage of our communications department and just send it out, because if we're just, in events, not everybody goes to an event, on the radio, on We just gotta make sure that it's out there.
And we could definitely, when we go to our vaccination clinics or we go out on the road, we could definitely have that available. We can prepare to-go kits, and whenever the county is represented somewhere at an event, that could be something that we provide if that's something you're interested in. Again, we want to prevent a preventable death as anything that you could have done to intervene from, and so if there's a chance to do that, definitely we want to expand that reach. So we are open to the suggestions you have, and we'll definitely go back and brainstorm, but that is an easy fix. We can do that. We can make packets and have them available. We can also work, I know that our law enforcement and first responders, like our fire departments, already have that. We just have to find those places that are available after the traditional working hours. And if they're willing to work with us, we definitely would make sure that they have access to that. We just need to assess that, or they're willing to do that. So if you're willing to help us have those conversations, partnerships, and expanding that is something that's always welcome.
I
We
think-
definitely would want to do that.
I think if we can get it, do some PSAs, but I was trying to think of places like after hours, like you
Right.
said, schools, they're there
They're
at a
closed.
certain time.
Mm-hmm.
But if we could maybe work with like the mini mart, Circle K, Chevron, Dayton Travel Center out east, as just a place where if you have an emergency, go there, they will have the packet or something. But they're the only thing I can think of that are open 24/7
Or
to have
even-
that access.
Or even, I really like that idea, Darren, but even trusted community members in certain pockets, because when you get down to Somerton, between Somerton and San Luis, I mean, it's still gonna take 5 to 10 minutes for a first responder to be there, right?
And sometimes it's 30 minutes out east.
Yeah.
Yeah, ideally we would want somebody to have something in their home, even if you don't think, you never know when you're going to use it.
Right.
There's also accidental exposure. You never know. I know sometimes there's a stigma around it, and I think people need to really ask themselves those questions. Even if I don't think I'm going to use it, am I ever going to be in a situation where I might come across somebody that can need it? And would it be important for me to have it, with me and help?
I try to keep that one box that you gave with me all the time, just in case.
We will give you, we will make sure we have a new supply. And again, it's something that we can pursue in other county. I mean, we have opportunity to expand
Let me ask a
accessibility.
question, Diana.
Yes.
Diana, could you clarify something for me and indulge me? I know that we saw that number of 6, and that's attributable to an opioid, right?
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes, some of our poisonings or some of our overdoses are due to the fact that somebody thought that they were taking an opiate, but then it ended up being fentanyl. So
Yes.
is that included in our numbers?
Yes, contamination is something very common, and I think, to your point, that's one of the reasons that the naloxone is really important, because it will overdose, it will reverse it with heroin, morphine, oxycodone, fentanyl, hydro. So it's very robust response, and again, within 1 to 3 minutes. And I think you can speak a little more about the numbers in specific, correct?
Before you get into that, and because I've heard that, I mean, it is a one-time funding, so getting vending machines and getting them approved to be in locations like Circle K, AM, PM, those stores that are open 24 hours. It's important to me, at least in South County, that to know that you can go to a Circle K, get to a vending machine that is not going to charge you anything. And that, to me, is important.
Right.
And I said at the beginning, look, get some vending machines and get those Circle K's places and AM places to understand that they're supposed to be part of the response team, so that people can go pick them up without having to pay anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it'd be a way to distribute.
Yes, having public access vending machines, if that's something we want to look at, that is something we can definitely look at, Again, where those are placed depends on the entity or whoever owns the land. There's, whatever they feel comfortable with. But again, those public-facing vending machines are something that we can look at, self-serve, and then we can
Yeah,
restock
look,
them.
they don't have to be comfortable with it. They just have to understand that this is a law, that we're providing this access to this what's it called? Nexapro? Or whatever the treatment is. People have maybe 5-10 minutes before they have an overdose that they need to respond to. This should be in a vending machine. They can pick it up for free. And all the agencies that you listed are like 9 to 5, 8 to 5, 8 to 6. So those places like Circle K, MPM that open all day, all night are a good option. But they need to understand that they're not going to have a choice. We're just going to have a vending machine in their location, period. And I think as a county, we can sort of work on that.
I do see, those vending machines, but there's gotta be in certain areas. I mean, we don't want just people to get them and 2 days they're gone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look.
Well, I mean, I trust there's some areas that probably won't happen, but there's some
But
other
if it
areas
happens,
that-
it happens. I mean,
Well,
I think the value of one life renders that question almost an impossibility. I mean, people can take Naxoprone and not use it, but what's the point? What's the point of having stuff that you can only get from 9 to 5?
Well, that's what I mean. There's certain locations that we can talk about and say these are strategic locations. I mean, we're talking on our east part of the county. Yeah, they can have them on Zero K. There's other areas that if you have it at Zero K, believe me, they'll be gone in probably from 1 in the morning till 2.
But depending on where they're at, like I said, Circle K in Somerton doesn't really make sense because you've got emergency services right there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Certain locations that are. Yeah,
Well,
that
I'm
don't
intimidated
have-
by the police department.
but
I don't
I
go into a
think-
police department unless I have to. So why would I go to a police department and let the police department know that I have an overdose at home? Why would I do that? When I can go to Circle K and get it for free, if Circle K allows it or AMPM allows it.
But if you need it and they don't have it,
Well, if you need it, they don't have it. That's what's going to happen right now.
so.
And if you need it and have it and don't use it, that's good.
I think we wait till, they'll bring up a plan and then we can go from there, because we can be here all day and talking about where.
And
where
you
we
guys
should
are
have it.
exactly right. The 24/7 locations are something we've been trying to do. It does take that agency's buy-in for us and able to do that. So any support that we could get in that would be fantastic. Also, we've been working with the Yuma Police Department. They've shared a tool that they have called OD Map, which it basically places, it's an internal thing, so it's not something we can share due to HIPAA, but it does highlight those hot spots. So we can look at San Luis, Somerton, City of Yuma, Foothills, and we can pinpoint those hotspot locations. And that's something we're currently doing with our OD2A grant and looking at being a little bit more strategic in those locations. Those 24/7 locations, those Circle Ks have been a tough spots to get into. So any support in that would be fantastic. To go back to Chairman Lyons' question about the opioids and what does that include, almost all the opioid deaths that we're showing are related to fentanyl. We have very few that are due to your traditional opioids and prescribed opioids. We still do have them, but overwhelmingly all the opioids found in the fatalities are fentanyl. The other leading drug is meth. And then often, and you alluded to this earlier, Chairman Lyons, often individuals may be thinking they're using meth, but it's also used with fentanyl, and that maybe is the contributor that leads to the overdose. So, and fentanyl's in everything. It's in any kind of misused prescription drug that you can think of. Fentanyl's has been located in that, and it's something it's out there. So. That's why naloxone and getting it is so important, and distributing and getting access, which you guys have pinpointed to. So we'll work on that.
Thank you very much for that. And Diana, before you go on, we spent a lot of money in our survey of our mesh network for the agriculture community. I just want to make sure that we have an overlay for our county and that it's accessible 24/7 to everybody in the community to make sure that we can avoid these types of deaths.
Yes, we will work on that. We will work on the communication. I heard it definitely that there aligns with what we're trying to do, which is, again, we want to increase that collaboration, fill those gaps in order to minimize the duplication of services and improve efficiency and access. So again, we heard about the accessibility issue, the promotion, making sure those gaps are in place. So I'm prepared to follow up on that and come back with a draft. This is an open dialogue again, and if you have any concerns, again, I know you hear from your constituents, I know they email us, but if there's something particularly, we're always looking for particularly successful strategies or unique situations that may be unique to our region, so that we can address those. Sometimes in rural communities or in those places, especially in East County, where distance and time is of the essence, we want to make sure we're aware of those. And so again, that helps us plan how to get it. I mean, we go on the field all the time to do vaccination. This should be no different.
Mr. Chairman.
We'll incorporate into what we're already doing. Yes, sir.
And perhaps as part of a greater overall approach, we not necessarily deconflict, but make sure that the cities are incorporated into our plan so that we have an understanding of the resources that they are providing so that we don't have to duplicate those efforts in those regions.
Yeah, we will convene, we will have a follow-up meeting with them after this meeting too, to get a better understanding. That's reported publicly, and right now I think it's just support their law enforcement response. But again, share the plan and ongoing dialogue and conversation. But we will make sure that we avoid that duplication and that we share that with everybody else in the county as well.
It's a tremendous resource and a tremendous blessing that we're able to put that out there and be proactive. I just want to make sure we do it the right way.
Agreed. Any questions?
Any other questions?
I go back to my slide about questions.
All right.
Probably longer than we anticipated, right?
So
I apologize for that.
Thank you.
you still.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Is that good direction, or you want
Yes,
that
no,
recommendation?
I got the, unless you formally want to, but I think I got the communication, the outreach out. I'm going to come back and have that plan.
And
And
then we
again,
can
it'll be under
formalize it.
discussion so that we can have that
Okay.
open conversation.
All right.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Moving on to planning and zoning agenda.
Do you want to go back to number 2?
Regular public hearing item, staff will make a full presentation on each of the following items, followed by separate discussion, public hearing, and action by the Board of Supervisors. Item number 1, special use permit, case number 26-04.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman Porches. We would like a full presentation on this item? No?
The short version.
Okay, short version is just it's a wireless communication that is proposed to be located in the Yuma Valley, approximately on County 13th Street and 600 feet west of Avenue B. And this is the zoning map. This is your aerial imagery of the subject property. And this is the site plan that was submitted by the applicant, showing the proposed location of the wireless communication facility. And we did receive some comments from MCAS. They're not in opposition, but they still want to review this. And we also received one letter in opposition from the property owners, which all this, how his questions were addressed by the applicant. And Plan Zoning recommends approval of special use number 2604 with the following performance conditions listed on the presentation, and with the operational condition as well, listed on the presentation, 1 through 5. And that concludes that presentation. Any questions for Derek?
Go ahead.
Will this tower have a great big red light on the top that goes around and around all the time?
Mr. Chairman, Porches, Supervisor Pancracy, yes, that's one of the operational conditions.
Okay, and the people who live around there got a letter saying that this was here and you only got one.
There was only one letter in opposition from the neighbors, from one of the neighbors. And all his questions were basically,
I read them. I read all of his questions and stuff. Were they answered?
all the answers, they were all answered by the applicant. We forward the questions to the applicant and they all answer all the questions.
Okay, and it's not encroaching on any of his property or any of that kind of stuff?
No, it's gonna be within, this.
Within it, I saw it, but that's what he was inferring.
Yeah,
Okay,
and the applicant is present.
okay. And so those were all taken care of, and he is still in opposition, correct?
Well, we haven't, heard anything from him,
Okay.
So I guess
Thank you.
they were addressed. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? All right. I don't have to open a public hearing, huh?
Yes.
All right, I'll open the public hearing. Anybody from the public that wishes to address?
Do our students want to come in and address it? What? Big ol' eyes.
Hello, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Omar Siddiqui. I'm with State 48 Development Consulting. We are the applicants for this permit on behalf of the property owners. I'm just here to answer any questions you might have in addition to staff's presentation. Very good, thank you. Thank you for your consideration.
To quote Tony Reyes, quit while you're ahead.
All right, well, thank you for your consideration. I appreciate it.
That's a good one.
Anybody else? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. for action.
I'd like to move special use permit case number 2604.
There's a motion and a second to approve special use permit.
Case number 2604.
Case number 26-04. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I want to lodge my complaint. I mean, when he talks all the time, you don't tell him it was because he was a former chairman. I get all that slack all the time.
¿Estás quejando?
Me estoy quejando.
¿De qué quejas?
Anytime I speak, it's because I was used to be the chair. And every time he speaks, it's because what? Because he's the vice chair? So I just want to lodge my complaint. The last time you took like an hour discussing this.
You're going to have to fill out can you
I'll
give
fill
the
out a
forms
form.
for the...
I'll fill out a form, complaint form.
Moving on to legislative issues. Alejandro.
So where was I? Oh, yeah. I know I mumble, but not that much.
Just a little.
That much.
Shorter.
She likes my voice, Tony.
I'm looking for the
soft,
calendar.
smoothie.
You can put
Go ahead,
the.
Alejandro.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead,
members of the board,
Alejandro.
good morning, Alejandro Figueroa, Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs for Yuma County. I'm pleased to present to you our great lobbyist. She's done an outstanding job at the state capitol representing Yuma County and its interests. So I'll let her take over the microphone and give a presentation to you.
Good morning.
Morning, Alexis.
No, you're okay.
Thank you for coming down.
Yeah, thank you very much. Chair, Vice Chair, board members, staff, and our few guests that are left. For the record, Alexis Susdorf. I've had the privilege of representing you all at the Capitol the last 2 years. I own my firm, State 48 Public Affairs, and have been representing you all in a lobbying capacity. So I know that Craig with the County Supervisors Association was here 2 weeks ago to try to steal my thunder. So I'm going to reduce duplication and kind of just cruise through my lens and hone in a little bit more on the Yuma County details from this legislative session, and then just share a little sneak preview of some things I think are coming up. And then we will then shift to Alejandro, who's going to go into some things that we're excited to potentially work on with your permission for the upcoming session. So, history was made again. I feel like I've said that the last 2 years. But a couple months ago, I presented to you all and shared a historical moment at our legislature where we officially maxed out the 2000s for the House bills and reached House Bill 4000 as a result of the high number of bills that were published this session. Proud moment in history to be a part of it, although I certainly don't always enjoy reading through that high volume of legislation at our legislature. But just, I think it's so interesting to look at context from last session. We all know a lot of the challenges just are a result of our divide in our government with a Democrat governor and Republican-led House and Senate, which creates a lot of friction and challenges on getting things done at the Capitol. But just for context, we saw about 300 additional bills, memorials, and resolutions that were published this year. But on sort of the flip side, we saw less bills that were actually transmitted to the governor for consideration in comparison to last year. just nearly the same number of bills signed, and then a little bit less in the vetoes this year, although you all know that this has been a historically high number of vetoes over the last few years, again, as a result of a lot of the political divide, but seeing 150 vetoes plus each year since Governor Hobbs took office is pretty shocking to see, and I think if you talk to our founders 100 years ago, they'd be pretty shocked as well. But just the political climate that we're seeing at all levels of government, and you all experience as well. Not surprised, but semi-surprised in the number of ballot referrals that were moved through the legislature and placed on a November ballot. I know in the cycle 2 years ago, there was a lot of grumbling on why the ballots were so long, and a lot of it was because of the inclusion of a high number of legislative referrals. But so truly in my world, we were anticipating maybe 3 to 5 that would be adopted this legislative session, but we did see 7 move to the ballot for November, in addition to the 3 from last session. So 10 legislative referrals were placed on the ballot, and I'll go into some of those, specifically the ones that will impact you should they pass. One area to celebrate lightly is the fact that we finished session a little bit earlier this year as opposed to last year, June 13th, as opposed to June 27th. Although you all are well aware that our Constitution sets around a goal of a 100-day legislative session threshold, which typically falls in mid to late April, and we are well past that. So again, it's just the political climate. I have shared with you all job security, right? But it is just continues to be very long sessions, drag on, and I will get into the very reasons why. You know, we talked about the divided government. It wouldn't be a legislative session without drama and very strongly worded headlines. You know, there was sort of no shortage of reasons for this prolonged session, but in my world, sort of the two I would really capitalize on is the governor did exercise a moratorium on bill signing. It's a tool that governors have used sort of throughout history to try to get the legislature moving on the adoption of the budget, but ultimately there was a month-long sort of pause on bills moving to the governor's desk as a result of this moratorium, which did delay some of the work at the Capitol. In addition, the other contentious point throughout the session was when the legislature did bring forward actually 2 different versions of budget bills. The first version, which was vetoed, which created somewhat of delay and somewhat of additional friction at the Capitol, which always makes getting things across the finish line challenging. So the moratorium combined with the veto of budget number 1 before the official budget number 2 moved forward were sort of 2 of the moments at this session that I would sort of highlight as the low points or high points, depending on how you'd look at it. Let me just make sure I'm sticking on these because they're small. All right, so, but eventually in June, our legislature did craft an $18.3 billion budget, which was passed and signed. I know Craig with CSA covered some of the big picture high points for the county, which included funding needed for probation officer salaries, the corrections officer retirement plan, employer contribution increases, and the expenditure limit inclusion for the opioid settlement funds, which were discussed today. But budget items really relevant to Yuma County that I just want to touch on is the $24,000 allocated out of the budget for your corp contributions. There was a couple of sheriff-specific line items to note. In the higher education space, relevant to your community interest, both NAU Yuma and the U of A Cooperative Extension received funding necessary to carry on their important work in Yuma and across the state. On the water side, there was some disappointment to see yet another year of funding swept from WIFA, which I know Supervisor Lyons is very familiar with. On the sort of other side of the coin, there was a positivity associated with the specific $6 million allocation for the Colorado River Legal Defense Fund, which supports ADWR's Department of Water Resources effort on behalf of the state to secure these water resources, which I know is vitally important to your community as well. The Yuma County received our annual Arizona long-term care allocation and acute care allocation amount. You are well aware, but for sort of public knowledge, this is the statutorily requirement payment into these programs using taxpayer collections that the county is required to pay, and a significant chunk of your budget that the state requires you to pay. Let's see. One thing to celebrate is the inclusion of a statutory language to ensure that the funding that was allocated last year, $700,000 for Amberley's Place, was included in the budget bill. There was potential threats because this funding wasn't fully spent down that it was going to be swept. So this line item did ensure that Amberley's Place could continue to spend that down as opposed to it being swept. I mentioned the opioid settlement expenditure limit. I know people were happy about that. And then one area I will note, it's a small win in my book, but the securing of funds from last year's budget. As you have been made aware, this was a very tight budget cycle, and a lot of communities saw fund sweeps from allocations that they received last year. That was sort of a strategy the legislature had to use to balance the budget. And again, a small win, but I was really happy to affirm that the $850,000 that you all received for the waste tire program, as well as the $1.3 million that you all fought for the Somerton Bridge, were secured. Again, it sounds like a silly win, but there were so many sweeps this year that a lot of the work was just holding on to what we had, and I think all of you that helped in that work to keep those funds secure. All in all, in my assessment, for a very, very tight budget year, the counties did end up okay from my perspective in terms of funding stability. The biggest area that was highly debated this session as well was tax conformity. Tax conformity was the big gorilla in the trade-off in this year's budget. While there were areas of agreement, like no tax on tips, there were disagreements on some of the corporate filer provisions. While typically tax conformity is an effortless task and one of the first bills passed and signed in the session, tax provisions at the federal level adopted in 2025 resulted in this political battle on how the state will conform to these federal tax changes. This is one area I am also watching for next year to see how the legislature and executive handles conforming, and really, I think the November election results could result in another contentious conformity year based on how things play out. So I mentioned the 10 legislative referrals that were placed on the ballot. This is likely in addition to the Protect Education Act, which makes some reforms to the Empowerment Scholarship Program that did receive 420,000 signatures. The signature validation's underway, but the threshold for that was just over 255,000. So all signals to me that that is going to be placed on the ballot in addition to these ones. The highlighted ones I'll go into a little more detail because these I think either have been items I've dialogued closely with Alejandro on with interest from the county and community, and then I'll just kind of touch on some of the other ones. And always happy to provide links to you all to get more information or summaries on these for more detail. So HR 2040 is the contentious anti-teachers union bill that was uncovered to have implications to other unions, including police and fire. This referral would prohibit union activities in government settings. SCR 1032 would require school districts in Maricopa, Pima, or Pinal County, or districts with over 7,500 students like Yuma Union High School District to allocate at least 60% of their operational funds to direct classroom instruction. House Bill 2048 is ultimately crafted with a provision that voids that ESA Protect Education voter-led initiative. It includes a prohibition on the ability to limit ESA availability to military families, and this is one that is being challenged in court, and a lot of people question the legality of this. Some of these other ones are being challenged as well, but this one is going to get a lot of attention. SCR 1004 limits the use of photo radar enforcement. This one has really, it's been an issue on the table for many, many years, but they finally got something across the finish line. It grandfathers those in that have contracts in place for these, but it requires a public vote for their continued existence and a revote every 10 years. HCR 2003 prescribes bathroom requirements on schools and athletic organizations, as well as sports participation based on a person's biological sex. HCR 2044 expands on existing preferential treatment laws in relation to employment. And lastly, HCR 2055 declares drug cartels as terrorist organizations. Again, these are on November ballot and would need to get a majority of the vote in order to take effect. So digging in, this is one that consumed a tremendous amount of time and attention from counties and the county staff as we sort of dug into the impacts that this legislation could have. I mean, ultimately, HCR included some provisions on citizen voting and foreign national contributions in elections. I think the real question on this one is around how counties will comply with this new requirement to show valid government-issued proof of identity and how this will sort of commingle with mail-in voting. And while the original language required on-site tabulation on both election day and early voting, the final language did revise to just having this on election day, which is my understanding from staff that this is something that the county does now, but others don't. So this will have implications to other counties, which had a fiscal impact, which is a really big concern. To address this, the legislature did ultimately add an additional inclusion of the bill that would require the legislature to allocate funds to comply with this referral should it take effect. And then just a delayed effective date to 2028 to allow time should this take effect.
Mr. Chairman, Alexis, did they identify per county roughly the burden and how much more that would be?
Yes, so County Supervisors Association did a collection. A lot of the impacts, or the majority of the impacts was really this on-site tabulation provision. For us, when it was the day of, as well as early voting, I know rough estimates for us was around a $600,000 impact because we'd have to procure additional equipment and staff and such. Although they did change that, listening to some of our feedback, to just day of voting, which doesn't have impacts to you because you have that already. So the fiscal impact on you specifically was lessened, but some counties don't do this on election day. So there is still a pretty significant fiscal impact for some of our counties. I think there is a lot of questions, the legislature having the requirement to appropriate monies. This was also, not saying it's a good argument or bad argument, but we have historically seen the legislature fail to sometimes appropriate monies even though they're required by law. And so that was sort of one of the areas that a lot of people were pushing back on to say, you continue to break the law on allocations, what's gonna stop you from doing it here? But we continue to talk with county staff, talk with experts in this space on exactly how this government-issued provision will work with mail-in voting. There's got to be technology, there's conversations happening. I'm not the expert, but I think there's just a lot of questions on how this will work with those that choose to mail their ballots.
Don't know how they expect you to check for citizenship when you send an early ballot to a house. I just can't figure out how they figure that out. That means to me that what they're trying to do is control the early voting process. The early voting process was established by Republicans. So what's the deal now? It isn't working out for them, so they want to change it?
Is that a rhetorical question?
I think it's a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer that. Forget that.
I
just don't know how they're going to work with that, with early voting.
I do think it would be helpful to have someone from your election team to potentially online, offline. I know there are a lot of very smart people that are thinking through what this looks like. It also has to uphold legal scrutiny, right? So we may come up with a process that meet the legal scrutiny associated with this requirement of a valid government-issued ID. I think that's where there is a lot of questions. So we can continue. I know that there are plenty of people that are experts in this space thinking through, should this pass in November, how do we adhere to that provision to ensure mail-in voting is still available to voters? And I think it's a big question mark.
I'm going to ask you, I'm not going to make a rhetorical statement. Okay. So let's continue.
Let's see. Okay, food tax. So this is one I know we've been following for several years. There's been several attempts at eliminating the food tax, which has implications on municipalities in the county that have low food taxes but utilize this as a mechanism to some of the expenses that they're required. So after many years of battles, finally something did pass. I will say it's the counties came to the table and worked to develop this to get their neutrality to minimize the impacts. But ultimately, the sort of key of these provisions are cities with food taxes currently in place can increase their food tax, but it's a max threshold of 2%, and they must receive voter approval for that increase. And then cities without a food tax, or some that don't have food tax, can levy up to the 2% and also have to achieve voter approval. So that was attempting to sort of minimize the impacts on communities that said this is going to absolutely devastate us. We heard a lot from communities with high tourist activity that this is a real important source of income, and so entire elimination was problematic, but this was sort of the agreed upon with the 2%. SCR 1004, this was a referral passed last session. It's modeled after some other activity happening in states where people were being taxed based on their miles traveled. SCR 1004 would prohibit taxes on fees on miles traveled in a vehicle. It requires voluntary consent if political subdivisions do choose to track or limit miles traveled. And then one important provision to you all is this is not applicable to government employees because you do track these miles for your employee, oftentimes for expense purposes. All right, let's go on to some of the good stuff. I want to congratulate you all for all of your work and hard work to get two really important bills done. This was something that I know are two important issues that you heard from your communities and constituents, and ultimately after a lot of hard work of you all, a lot of hard work of your staff, the County Supervisor Association supporting these efforts to get two bills across the finish line. Senate Bill 1419 establishes new consumer protections for solar, and then House Bill 2324 by your Representative Cupper and LD 25. So sending him a thank you text would be great, or giving him a phone call. But it provides some clarification on fire code jurisdictional issues that you actually all experienced in this exact building.
Alexis, can I just point out something really quick?
Yeah.
On how important it is that we consider the legislative process when we're trying to solve problems. If we operate in an atmosphere where things are done by fiat or by executive order on any level, that can be undone by the next administration. But when we work through this process with the legislature, it's durable, it lasts, and it becomes state law. So anything that we approach in this community, and this is just a blanket statement, working with the legislature is critical in order to provide durable, long-term protection to the residents of this county. If it's done any other way, it can be undone.
Thank you. I won't go into all of the details, but the solar consumer protection bill had just a tremendous amount of policy changes and new compliance requirements for rooftop solar, both in the sort of pre-contract space, so making sure that these providers are giving adequate assessments of roofs and making sure that they can withstand the weight and withstand and are not aged and dilapidated. That placement of anything on this could be really compromising.
Alexis, Mr. Chairman, this came about, and just to establish kind of a frame of reference for the people watching at home, because we have thousands of people across the state who are locked out of their solar systems, who are being held hostage by these rooftop installers. And so with that understanding, we approached the CSA in order to get this taken care of. And now it's It has been, and we have solar consumer protections, but it was primarily because these industries were preying upon our senior citizens and locking them into long-term contracts.
Yeah, and
So,
a
thank-
lot of
thank you for that.
provisions, yeah, a lot of provisions on the pre-sales process. We were understanding that there was a lot of lack of clarity and lack of documentation on some of the sales presentations and the savings. And so really honing in on some of the kind of sales process, and then making sure throughout that contractual period, there is a lot of additional disclosures, and people are well aware of what they have to pay from a maintenance perspective, because you guys are well aware that the maintenance of these units can oftentimes be pretty extensive, and making sure individuals are very well aware. So this is an example of constituents reaching out to you all and, in response, working hard to develop some protections for your community. So I hope those listening and everyone knows that this is a big deal and really responsive, you all being responsive to the issues of the community. 2324, definitely more sort of nuanced, but ultimately disagreement between the local fire marshal and state fire marshal on which jurisdiction for counties. After some work, we did get some clarity on this issue. Representative Nick Cupper of LD 25 did move this forward, and he's one of your representatives that represents part of this community. So really excited about that. And we actually have a meeting this afternoon with the state fire marshal and the city to talk through implementation of this. State land continuation, Supervisor Pancrazzi, I'm excited to work with you on the biosolids study committee, really excited about what's going to come about with this. The continuation bill was something that we worked closely on with Senator Dunn, just given the impacts of Yuma County, specifically in the biosolid space, as well as some of the provisions dealing with lease holdovers, which some of your ag operators in the community are under. I will save you there's a lot of bills, everything that took effect. I'm happy to recirculate it, but I did provide on June 23rd. You're welcome to post it if the county's interested, but it's an 18-page report emphasizing everything that took effect that your county should start to think about from implementation. Some have more forward-facing changes, whereas others are maybe just FYIs to you as you make sort of changes or work in the court system. So I just encourage you to take a look. If you scan through that while you're doing some nighttime reading, all 18 pages, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.
Mr. Chairman, Alexis, do you anticipate that any version of what was put forward by Mr. Olson comes back where cities and counties would be prohibited from making any adjustments to the tax rate, to any fees, et cetera? We worked hard to get that, to kill it. Do you anticipate that it comes back?
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Supervisor Lyons, I do. I think some iteration of that will move forward. As with any legislative session, they may get creative and clever and sort of change pathways, but we oftentimes see these themes come up every year, and we'll likely continue to have to sort of swat them until they get this maybe be out of their bonnet.
Is that something that we should continue to push through CSA, maybe amplifying? I know that the league was involved and CSA was involved, but that would place an undue burden on cities and counties.
Yeah.
And the ability to operate on behalf of their constituents.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You all have regular sort of interactions and correspondence with LD 2325, as do a lot of your county supervisor peers. We'll see a lot of them at the County Supervisor Association Conference in October. All of these should be an opportunity. Everyone should remember to make a reminder that those tax and fee moratoriums that might look good on the surface but have negative implications based on the services that the community needs. I think those are going to be great avenues. Naturally, cities and counties are going to be hard out front in opposition to these. So I think right now, through the start of the next legislative session in January, should be where we take advantage of having these conversations with our legislators on the negative impacts that these will have, should they even consider dropping this type of legislation.
Thank you. That's one of the bills that concerns me the most. I'm sure that there's a good reason why they want it, but I haven't been able to find it, and I want to make sure that, I even asked Chat and Grok and everybody else, why would somebody want this? Why would you inhibit the county or the city's ability to manage its own finances? We're accountable to the voters as it is. We don't need the obstruction of our friends in the legislature.
Yeah. And for that one, if you remember, there were two iterations. There was a bill version, and then there was a referral version.
Yes, the referral.
What really strikes fear in me is referral.
Yes.
Because again, on the surface, it will look good to a normal person, but without understanding all the implications that it will have on access to services, access to roads without potholes, everything that they expect and their expectations would then be lessened. So that's the one that really struck fear in me. Of course, the bill has implications, but something that's protected at the ballot just would be absolutely devastating and have consequences for generations to come.
It's akin to the minimum wage bill and being part of law now, and how many businesses are now forced to make cuts in order to keep up with rising costs. And yet the entry-level jobs just aren't necessarily there anymore. So good intentions to begin with, but not understanding what the long-term consequences are.
So quickly going through, because I know I'm probably well over, 2027 political landscape, I've been sitting there looking at the primary election results, reporting out surprises to you all, so expect an email just on some of the surprises. We'll see. I mean, ultimately, people in my world watch November election closely to understand, who's at the helm and the governor. Do the Republicans maintain majority? Does the majority lessen? Does it grow? Does, the Democrats take a chamber? All of those elements sort of will change our work and change our approach in the next 2 years for the legislative cycle. So this will be very interesting. We have at least 2 more years of tight state budgets is what our economists are predicting. So it's just going to be continuing to scrap with sustaining, stability in county budgets. And I think that's going to be something that we'll have to continue to fight. We've continued to fight for funding for transportation projects like US 95. I always say we've got to ask, right? We've always got to put it out there. We've got to make sure that LD 2325 and all the legislature understands the importance of that US 95 repavement project and the impacts on Arizona's larger economy. But it is really tough right now in the budget year. Colorado River, this is an interesting one. I know your community's watching closely, as am I. There are ongoing discussions. We could potentially see, based on some of the lower basin discussions, a special session in the next few months on this issue. So something I'm watching closely. I will stay in touch with Alejandro on that, but however you all want me to engage on this this item really important to you all, please continue to communicate. And biosolids, we'll get a little bit more into this on some of the CSA priorities that we're going to be presenting to you, but I know this is utmost importance to you all, utmost importance to your community, that we get some resolutions on this issue. I think the study committee will be a really good avenue, but I'm super excited to get some things done on this topic in the years to come. And I appreciate you all continuing to really, really push the legislature on this topic. So.
Supervisor Lyons, you sound less and less like a Republican to me. For some reason, you sound less and less like a Republican.
How is that?
I don't know. Your statements are not. Your statements are more like a middle of the road kind of guy.
It's about what's best for our community,
Yeah.
whether you be what party,
No, you
doesn't
sound less and less
matter.
like a Republican.
Well, that's because
And
it's what's best
that's
for
a
us.
compliment.
Tony, I think I still have more guns than anybody in Arizona.
Yeah, you do.
So I think that's first and foremost. Anyway, just real quickly, Alexis, if you can put that slide back up there. And Mr. Chairman, I just want to remind everybody, to your point, Alexis, about the Colorado River policy, we signed the first ever intergovernmental agreement between California, Arizona, and Nevada last month with the commissioner's blessing. And the commissioner said he is looking for other types of projects that alleviate stress on the Colorado. So I'm buoyed up by his actions and by his statements regarding that intergovernmental agreement of water exchanges on the Colorado. It's the first time that it's ever happened in the history of the United States.
Getting there.
Well, that's it for me. You all receive emails where it has my cell phone and email address, but I am a resource to each one of you and your constituents, so feel free to keep my information handy and let me know whenever you have legislative questions. I'll turn it back to Alejandro.
Thank you, Alexis. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, continuing with the agenda item, the second part of it. As you know, CSA holds a policy summit every year that our Board of Supervisors attends and it becomes part of the Board of Directors for the CSA, where they review the proposals from every single county that they potentially then approve and adopt as priorities for the organization, for the association. So in this case, this year we got from Yuma County, from staff at least right now, 4 proposals, draft proposals for your review and potential approval to submit to CSA for their consideration. So I'll start with number 1. We titled this one County Operational and Administrative Efficiencies. Title 11, as you know, contains many of the laws governing Arizona counties. Over time, various administrative processes and reporting requirements have been added. Some of these requirements may now be duplicative, inefficient, or unnecessary. In particular, some require reports and processes take significant staff time and resources to prepare, but appear to receive limited practical use. The concern is whether those requirements continue to justify the time and public resources needed to complete them. The proposed solution is to modernize county administrative processes and streamline unnecessary reporting requirements. Specifically, Yuma County is asking CSA to establish a working group of county representatives and staff to review Title 11. The working group would identify the specific requirements and administrative processes that may warrant changes and develop recommendations. Those recommendations could then be advanced through one omnibus bill or through smaller legislative bill proposals over multiple years. The proposal does not require or request state funding. Participating counties would provide staff to assist with the review. County staff will be the initial stakeholders, with other affected parties invited to participate as specific issues are identified. And the overall goal is to reduce unnecessary administrative work and allow counties to focus more staff time and public resources on providing services to our constituents. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you'd like to listen or hear through the 4 proposals, or if you'd like to approve or review or comment on each one of them separately.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve all 4 as presented.
Yeah, I will.
Perfect. I will.
Let's put Alexis to work early.
Yeah,
I will move on to proposal number 2 that we title Expenditure Limit Revision.
Do we, hold on.
Oh,
I made a motion.
Oh, we approved the
There's a
motion at 4.
I'm sorry.
And
Approval of 4.
a second to approve all 4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Go forth and conquer.
Put you and her to work early.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Get us ready. Make sure that all the other counties understand before we get there what we're doing.
You sold us on it.
Get us some support.
Hurry up. Did I mumble that?
Mr. Chairman, it's now you.
Okay. We'll do the,
Do what?
the,
The 4?
yeah, 'cause we still have one more
Item.
item, but
That we skip.
we'll do the community calendar events, and then we'll move on to the item that I skipped. Lynn?
Thank you. For YMPO, I was on the evaluation committee for YMPO, and we had our meeting and did our evaluation of the director of YMPO. I met with a representative from the AG's office regarding biosolids. I met with Balance Rock Solar Company, and I went on the KAWC morning show about biosolids. It was supposed to air this morning at 10, and the AG meeting concerning biosolids is at the Civic Center tomorrow at 6 o'clock, and I plan on attending that as well. And I handled some constituent calls and meetings, so.
Mr. Chairman, I participated in 7 water meetings, state, local, and federal, reaching all the way up to the White House, and including a lot of our federal representatives. Had a meeting on the expenditure limit, meetings with the food bank in Amberley's Place, wished Colonel Stone a goodbye, and have not had the chance to meet the new CEO of MCAS Yuma. Had a couple of discussions with Judge Hawes, had conversations with food safety in mind with representatives from Western Growers and Yuma Fresh. Met with, or had meetings with ADEQ regarding PM10 on a, I'm sorry, not ADEQ, EPA federal regarding our PM10. And our ombudsman had meetings with Solar to explain the difference to applicants between our support of state-owned land versus private, and also had a meeting with the Rod and Gun, well, 3 different phone calls with Rod and Gun Club that didn't necessitate an in-person meeting. So not really doing much.
Mr. Simmons?
Just I was gone that 1 week, so been playing catch up as far as with emails and meeting with constituents on several different issues that continue, and that's about it.
I promise not to take too much time. I want to take the opportunity again to congratulate our representative in the Great Port Authority for being named the chairman this year. So the county is taking its position as chairmanship, the chairmanship.
Well done.
And I want to congratulate Mr. Figueroa for doing that. I didn't have a chance last time, so I'm making up for it today. So we went to that meeting. The meeting went well, and I had a bunch of meetings with a bunch of people, but it's just too long to mention. So I want to thank Ian for taking care of a couple of problems that I gave him, or at least response to it. And I do want to make sure that you know that I attended all those meetings. That in the 4th of July celebration in San Luis, I did attend to all those meetings that I needed to. So thank you very much. No mumbling. I try not to mumble.
Thank you.
Oh, I forgot New Orleans.
Well, you know, this past week I was in New Orleans, and obviously we got this award. But you know, a lot of the sessions that I attended to was data centers, and I'm surprised how the whole country is against them. I mean, it's just the governor of New York put a moratorium on them. There's states that are basically taking the control away from counties. So that's something that, I mean, I hope it doesn't happen here, because they decide, if the state will decide if they want to do one, especially in our county that we have a lot of state land. But I was really surprised, and that obviously that so many states and counties are against it. So just something to keep in mind. And I mean, I know they're needed, but especially with AI. So that's it.
And we're going to attend that. We're going to go tour one.
Yes, next week. Mm-hmm. All right. So we'll going to. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we go into executive session.
May I make one comment before? I'll second that. Thank you, girls, for coming. You're the future of our county, and I look forward to seeing you up here someday and representing the Yuma County.
And they stayed the entire meeting, Lynn.
Yes, it was wonderful. Thank you, girls. Bye now. Nope.
We didn't hear it snoring, so.
All right, so there's a motion and a second to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Could you clarify the reason for the executive session?
To obtain legal
Oh,
counsel, to obtain,
well, for the, let me see. Where is it?
Supervisor Lyons is on top of it.
Martin,
For
Mr. Chairman, can
this-
I see that?
Discussion, okay, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'll amend that motion to go into to go into executive session to discuss possible action related to the county's involvement in the Forefront ED binational program
I'll second that.
and to obtain counsel.
So there's a motion and a
I
second.
was looking for that.
Amended motion and a second to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll be done quick.
administrator to go ahead and meet with a representative of Forefront, or you, to meet with the representative of Forefront and get us a benchmark, identifying what is 6-month extension, the benchmark.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second to give, put a benchmark or a plan, to get a plan from Forefront and DD within the next 6 months. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.